And now moving along, I'm going to hand it right over to Brandon Schultz of the Grocers Association. Brandon.
Thank you. A couple of years ago, I went into a legislator's office during the state budget to come in and talk about the transportation component of the budget. And he stopped me and said, "What do grocers care about the transportation side for?" And I said, "Well, you know, groceries don't show up in grocery stores on magic carpets. If we were to go out and stand out on the interstate and have this press conference out there, I assure you that at least half of the semis that go through are either coming from our warehouses, our suppliers, or the companies that supply our stores directly. You know, grocery stores do not have storage in the back. What you see when you go in and shop is what's on the shelves, it's what's been delivered, and it's delivered every day. And unless we have roads that those trucks can operate on, we won't be able to sell groceries, you won't be able to buy groceries. Every budget cycle, we fight this fight. And we cannot afford to have roads that are not well maintained, and we cannot afford to have roads that don't allow our businesses to operate. That is why we are here today. That's why we will support this in every county in every way we can. I'm going to leave it to these folks to give you more of the guts of what it is. But from a business perspective, you know, you have to keep in mind those trucks operate on those roads every day. We need them in our stores every day so that you can buy what we have to sell. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Allison from Waukesha County Department of Public Works.
Thank you. Good morning. Again, my name is Allison Bussler, and I'm the Director of Public Works in Waukesha County. On behalf of the Waukesha County Executive and the entire County Board, I'm here today in support of placing language in the Wisconsin Constitution that would prohibit the practice of using transportation user fees to fund non-transportation state programs. Last week, the Waukesha County Board unanimously voted to place an advisory question on the November ballot that would ask voters if the Constitution should be amended to prohibit any further transfers or lapses from the Segregated Transportation Fund. The state of Wisconsin's approximately $1.2 billion transfers from the Transportation Fund is wrong for a number of reasons. Number one, it violates the spirit of the Constitution. Wisconsin's Constitution currently does not allow the state to borrow money in order to fund ongoing operations. The practice of transferring funds from the Transportation Fund to the General Fund and then issuing GO bonds to repay the Transportation Funds tramples on that spirit of that constitutional provision. Number two, it's a poor fiscal practice. Waukesha County was recently awarded a AAA bond rating for the 13th consecutive year in a row. Using the state's GO bonds in this way has hurt the state's bond rating. A report issued by CNN in 2009 listed Wisconsin as having the second worst GO bond rating in the nation. Three, it harms other programs funded by the general fund. Debt service for these bonds will have to be paid for out of the state's general fund, which hinders its ability to fund other programs that counties depend on, such as shared revenue, community aids, youth aids, and courts. And lastly, it exacerbates the declining transportation revenue problem in Wisconsin. Both gas tax and registration fees are down in Wisconsin. These two transportation fees comprise over 90% of the state segregated transportation fund. These declining revenues are insufficient to meet our pending transportation needs. These transfers from the segregated transportation fund have had a negative impact on state and local roads. In the year 2000, state general transportation aids used to fund 27.8% of county trunk highway costs. Just 9 short years later, that percentage share had slipped to 22.5%. The state has slashed spending used to maintain its roads and failed to invest in a timely manner in vital infrastructure such as the zoo interchange, mass transit, and aviation. And speaking with my colleagues across the state, there has been significant staff reductions in most highway departments across the state. The impact on the state transportation system is occurring right now. And transferring more money out of this fund will cripple Wisconsin's transportation infrastructure. As Craig earlier mentioned, about 9 counties have already passed language to occur on the November ballot. I know a number of other counties across the state are also considering this measure, and I would encourage them to pass it and to take this very important issue to the voters in November. With that, I want to thank you all for coming, and I think we're going to open it up to questions.
If there's questions, not just for people who spoke, but any of the members here of the various organizations, we also do want to mention too that as of today, we've launched a website called findingforwardwisconsin.org or .com. On there, there will be, right now it's a temporary site, we're still getting it up, but it's got all the information from today and those things posted. It will eventually have a map of the state with all the counties and the status of each county, of whether they've passed a resolution or whether it's pending and all that sort of thing, as well as other relevant information for the effort. So with that, I'd open up to questions for anybody here, if anybody in the media has any.
Craig, you got the proposed language for a constitutional amendment?
Well, there is, the language that has passed in the 9 counties is the language for the advisory referendum. As far as for the actual constitutional amendment, there has been joint resolutions that have already been introduced in this last session. Senator Playley was an author, Representative Gottlieb, and others, and we'd like to thank them and lend our support. So there is language that has been out there. I think.
You support those?
Yes.